Welcome to Connecting Our Community, brought to you by the North Andover Elder Services. Connecting Our Community is an educational series connecting local resources to you to help you and your family age with dignity and independence. My name is Kathy Shelp, and I am the Director of North Andover Elder Services. We operate programs and services at the Senior Center, 120 Rear Main Street, right behind Town Hall. Today we are joined by North Andover Chief Assessor Bill Mitchell. Bill was appointed Chief Assessor for the town of North Andover in 2020, where he currently serves. He started his career in the assessing field in 2008 as a data collector for the city of Worcester and accepted a position as a principal assessor for the town of Sturbridge in May of 2009, which was a job he held until 2014. He was appointed as Chief Assessor for the city of Leominster from 2014 till he arrived in North Andover. So, Bill, tell me exactly what you do. What does assessor do?
Yeah, so it's a little bit loaded what we do. We do a lot of things, but the biggest job that we do every year is we value every piece of property in the town every single year as of January 1st. And so that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of our resources to do that. And then in the background, we have all of the other programs that we run. The exemptions we're going to talk about today. Motor vehicle excise taxes, the abatement process for your property taxes, the mapping that you see in town, the GIS that you see online, all of those other programs. So we do a lot of background information, and the biggest thing is valuing the property and then collecting all the data for every parcel in town. So we have the largest database in the community as well.
How many households are there? How many
So there's
properties?
Approximately just over 10,000 parcels in town, and there's about 8,600 single-family homes.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it's a lot of work in January then if you've got
a bit.
It's winter, it's cold. What else are you going to do in Massachusetts
That's
anyway?
right.
So today we're going to talk about abatement programs and some tax exemptions that may be available to our older residents to help lessen the burden on their property taxes.
I think this is great, too, because honestly, I feel like not a lot of people know about these programs. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I want to point out right away, right, is a lot of people come into my office and they ask for an abatement, right? So there's an abatement and then there's an exemption. So anybody listening, we're going to talk about exemptions today. Abatements are an appeal of your valuation of your home or your car. But when we talk about an abatement of taxes for your elderly exemption or disabled veterans or blind, it's called an exemption.
Okay.
So when people come in and see us and they say abatement, we automatically are thinking something else. So that helps.
Okay.
If you use the word exemption.
We're using the right verbiage.
Yes, exactly.
It's like talking to an IT person and saying some words and it means a way different thing to them.
Yeah. I had a woman stop in my office today that didn't even know we had a senior exemption. Had no idea.
Yeah.
And she's worked the senior Workoff program for a little bit, and she had no idea. Now she may qualify, she may not, but she didn't even know about it. Yeah. So I'm glad we're talking about this today.
Okay, great. So tell me about some. What do we got
so
here?
let's start right from the top to the bottom, because we do offer an elderly exemption. We offer actually two types, okay? And so the first one is an elderly person over the age of 70. And if you're over the age of 70, and you meet certain guidelines. So that's your total income, whether it be Social Security, pensions, anything like that, has to be under a certain amount. And then also the assets that you own. Now, that doesn't include your home. It just includes a vehicle, other land that you might own besides your primary home, stocks, bonds, money in the bank, things like that.
Okay.
So we'll ask you for all that information and then proof to back it up. So it is a little rigorous to go through, but well worthwhile, because if you apply and you qualify, you get $500 a year off your taxes.
Oh, that's nice. So, and if you apply, so if I were to apply, a person to apply this year, do I have to reapply every year for that?
It is an annual exemption.
Okay.
Yeah, so you've got to apply each and every year. Your income, and the reason for that, so many things change, right? Your income can change. Mm-hmm. You know, the statute can change on our end. Some of the qualifications might change if we do a cost of living adjustment, so that could go up. So maybe if you apply for the program and you don't quite meet the criteria, try again next year. Because if you're right on the borderline, it's possible that the adjustment goes up and then you'll qualify the following year.
Right. Okay.
So that's important to note. So we do offer the elderly over 70. That's $500 off your property tax every year. And you asked about filing too. It's important that I tell everybody this. Every January 1st is the most important tax bill you get every year. And the reason for that is because you have a new assessment on your property, so there's a new valuation, and you have a new tax rate, which determines your new tax dollars. And so that happens every January 1st. And if you have an issue with your assessment, whether it be that we have the home valued incorrectly or anything like that, you have until February 1st of that year to come and see us and apply for an abatement. And the reason I say that is because once February 1st comes and goes, the state of Massachusetts does not allow me to give money back. So they shut us down. So I tell everybody that to look at your January 1st tax bill. Make sure you look at all the property record cards. That's the information on every property is available to you on the website. So you can look at your particular property, see what we have for data. You might notice something silly like we have, 2.5 baths on your home when realistically you have 1.5 baths.
Okay.
So that's important to note. But the real reason is you want to apply for an exemption around that time, and you have all the way till April 1st to apply, which is this Friday.
Oh, okay. So, right, for the exemption. So
Right.
if let's back up a minute. So if somebody has a question, their tax bill comes in January and they have a question about their tax bill.
Yeah.
So they have till February to contact you. If they are a person that doesn't get online or can't maneuver the website very well, can they come in January and get all that information from you?
Absolutely. I always tell my staff, every time they leave the office, I say, number one, we need friends. Go make some friends, right? So I tell everybody, get in
Nice.
my office.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a phone call, if you want to stop in and talk to me, about your tax bill, even if it's just to go over it and say, does this seem right? And then I can sit down and explain to them, at least look at it and go, yeah, you know what? Unfortunately, it's correct, and this is your taxes,
And your
right?
tax
Or
rate, yeah.
we figure out something, you know what? We missed something here.
Okay.
You know what? Here, fill out this paperwork. Let's file for an abatement. Let's get you straightened out.
And is that abatement, is that something that you and the Board of Assessors decide, or does that have to go to the state?
No, it's definitely us and the Board of
local.
Assessors.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a local.
All right,
local-
great.
Yeah.
All right, and that's the abatement and not an exemption. So
Yes,
we'll look at that.
exactly.
Okay.
So when we talk about elderly exemptions, just to give you some idea of how many people don't take advantage of you. Currently, we gave out 8 this year. That's it.
8 abatements.
That's 8 exemptions.
Oh, eight
the
exemptions. That's it.
For the elderly, right?
Wow.
And then when we look at, there's one called a widow or widower.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's referred to. But realistically, it is an elderly exemption as well. If you're over 70, now this one applies only to your assets and not your income.
Okay.
So there's no income criteria with this one. But your assets, as long as your assets are under a certain amount, then you get $175 off your
Okay.
taxes each year. So it's not a lot, but it certainly could be something.
It's
right?
yeah. It all adds up. It all
Yeah.
adds up. So the elderly person, you only have about 8 people that apply for that.
Right. And then the widower, we only have 6.
Oh, okay.
So it's another, it's like a low one. You
Right.
know?
Right.
And so then we move on to blind persons. That's typically people that it's not that they're totally blind, but they have a certificate that they're a certain percentage of blindness. As long as they have that certificate, they can apply for an exemption. Again, all we need is that certificate that says you're legally blind, and you get $500 off your taxes every year.
And there's no income qualifications or anything with that.
None. It's
Okay,
just a
that's really
simple-
good. That's good to know. Do you get many apply for that?
Well, believe it or not, we get 9. But then the next one, really, and it's a big one, is our disabled veterans.
Okay.
So, we all appreciate the veterans and the services they did for us and our country. And so there are a lot of exemptions offered through the Massachusetts state law. And there's a lot of different clauses. There happen to be 4 that we adopted here in town. And it can range from anywhere from $400 a year off in taxes up to a full exemption of your taxes. And, the way this works is the Veterans Affairs Office will assign each veteran a percentage of disability based on their injury or disablement from war or from their time in the service. And so based on that percentage of injury, we then reflect the number or amount of taxes that we're going to give back. So typically, if you're anywhere from 10% to 90% disabled, you're going to get $400 off your taxes every year. And then if you're 100% disabled, you can go up to $1,000. And then again, if a veteran died from a service-related injury, say Agent Orange or something like that, and the surviving spouse is entitled to their benefits, but also they may get a full exemption after that because they died from their service-connected disability, and so the wife or the widower would get the full exemption from her taxes every year.
And
So that's a big one.
Who makes that determination? Where the
We do.
percentage you make that?
Yeah, the Board of Assessors, there are certain qualifications we
Okay.
need from the Veterans Department. They can submit that form. And Joe's great, our
No,
Veteran
he's
Services.
he's great. Yes,
fantastic.
he is.
So if you have any question, Joe knows all of this, and he's really a one-stop shop. You go there, he'll get all the paperwork you need. He'll get it to us. He'll tell us exactly what you need to do.
Do you have like a specific, like a checklist? You say, okay, here. Is it
Yep.
is it gray or is it very black and white?
It's
Where do you
very
fall?
black and white
Okay.
when it comes to this. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a letter from the Veterans Offices, the DD 214 form, and so it's pretty straightforward. And there's not a lot of questions. We have 93 people that
Do
get
you?
veterans
Yeah,
exemptions.
that's great.
So that's a kudos to Joe because he's
Yeah.
out there every day
And
making
he
sure
he
these
promotes
people
it.
take
He's great.
advantage of
He
it.
promotes these programs.
He
Yes.
really does. So
Yep.
you're going to have to start stepping it up, Kathy.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. Look, we're here.
Yeah,
Because we know that they go underutilized.
they do.
And so that's part of what we're working on is to get that information out.
Yeah, and one thing we do as well, on the front page of our website, we have what's called a exemption eligibility form. You simply go on there. You can answer 4 or 5 questions and find out if you're eligible
Yeah.
for an exemption. It's a very simple Google form, and I know a lot of the elderly or something aren't familiar with computer. If you're not and you just want to come in and check,
Yeah.
we'll go through it and we'll sit down with you and just do it real quick. Or your staff will do it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can get them through it, and we need to get that information out that it's there. I just think it's again, I think the percentage of older adults that are using the computer is very high now compared
Right.
to when I first started working at a senior center. They're using computers and capable.
Yeah.
It's just knowing that it's there,
Right.
and so as we're talking, like getting that information out in our newsletter, tweeting it,
Right.
Facebook, and I'm so new to tweeting things.
Yeah.
So kind of a new thing, but I think we have to just work a little harder on getting that information out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing today. Like you
Yep.
said, getting it on the website, putting it on notices throughout town hall, whether it's paperwork, signs on the door, whatever we need
Right,
to do,
yeah.
we're trying to get it to you, And then one of the other things we do is the Community Preservation Act. A lot of people see this CPA on their tax bill and they think we have an accountant behind the scenes that's just doing something. No, that is a Community Preservation Act. And what that does is it gives you a surcharge of up to 3%, and North Andover is 3% of your tax bill. And those are earmarked for special things. Like that goes to the beautification of the town. That goes to your open space. That goes to your parks, your historical renovation of buildings. That money can only be used for those things. And that's why it's called the Community Preservation Act. And you see it on your tax bill. But if you're eligible, you have to be 65 years or older as of the beginning of that fiscal year. Your annual income is based on a HUD formula that we use. But if you apply for that, you get that fee waived every year.
Okay.
So we do have quite a bit in there. We have like 32 people that applied for
All right,
that so
that's
far
nice.
this year.
And I'm hoping so. If you have 32 people in there, I feel like that they will also meet the
Right.
requirements for
This
these
is-
other deferrals or
Right.
these other exemptions as well.
Yeah.
And
And so it could very well be, what you don't see here is an asset requirement.
yeah.
So
That's changed.
and that
Yes,
could be because someone still has a big inheritance or has, so
something
that's where
sitting
you
there,
might
yeah.
see some disparity where 32 people are on a fixed income and do meet this eligibility, but then you ask them about their savings or their IRAs and that boosts their assets up
Okay.
and disqualifies them. But it's still worth looking at.
Still asking them. Yeah.
Definitely. And then we don't have any tax deferrals anymore. That's a tough one.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a tough one because what it is, it's exactly what it says. It's a deferral of your taxes, total for a certain number of years, and then once you pass away, those have got to be paid back by your family at the time of your death, and it's at an 8% interest rate. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's you can do it for quite a while, but then afterwards, if you're thinking about your family who's left with the home, it could be strenuous on them. So
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people have backed off on that.
Yeah, that's a high percentage, and I actually I knew of this program. I never knew that there was a interest rate attached to that.
Oh yeah.
And is there a time limit that you can be on it?
That's a great question. I think there is a time limit. It doesn't say it here, but when I think about it, there's a certain amount, because it's not a time limit. It's the amount
That's
that
about- yeah.
we're putting can't exceed a certain percentage of your total assessment. So I think
Okay.
that's what it is. Once you reach that criteria, you're coming off it anyway, and then that 8% starts to accrue, and then you might be back on the hook anyway.
And then you have to pay it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if you
yeah.
don't, then the town takes the house. So that's why that one's not as popular. But if you're really in the corner and you really can't afford this, and you got to defer your taxes to stay in your house for another couple of years, it might be something worth checking out. The paperwork is extraordinary to get to that, because if you have a loan on the house, the bank has to forgive their right as their first position. They have to give the town the first position
Okay.
on the mortgage. So there's a lot of criteria with that, but it is available. If someone's in a spot where they don't know what to do, it might be worth checking
Yeah,
out.
it's not that a little more complicated on that particular
Yeah,
exemption.
very. And then so those are our basic exemptions, right? But we also have the Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund. That's something that goes out with all our tax bills. That's run within the town of North Andover. We accept donations from people who are paying their taxes every year. There's a little card or form in there that they can donate to this fund. And then if you're elderly, disabled, or infirmed, then there's a board in the town that decides. You can get up to $500 depending upon your situation, but it's privately run through the town, and it's privately decided through the town.
Okay.
So that's a good fun too. Is if you
Yeah.
don't meet any of the exemption criteria, maybe you apply for this and see if you're eligible for that.
And is that an annual application
That is,
also?
yep.
Yeah,
It's
all
also
these
all
programs
of
are.
these are an annual application. They all typically run till April 1st is the application deadline, and so. But again, it's very, very worthwhile. I tell everybody, don't just think that you make too much money. Don't just think that you have too much money in the
Got to
bank.
find out.
Yeah.
And the other program that we do that we work hand in hand with you is
Right.
our tax relief program. Is a senior tax workoff program that run every town and almost I think in Massachusetts run this program.
Yeah, it's quite a few, and that's a great program.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, that receives, what are we up to now? About $1,425.
$1,425 a year.
Yeah.
Yep, that people receive off. They give 100 hours of service to the town, to a town department, which also includes schools.
Right.
And through that service, then
Yeah,
they
it's like
get-
being a special employee, right? So
Yeah.
you can work for the town. You can whatever you're qualified to do, whether it be bookkeeping, whether it be answering phones, taking photos, whatever any department needs, right? I know when I was in Sturbridge, one of the great things we did is we got rid of our cleaning company,
Yeah.
and we had all our senior workers clean town hall. And I tell you what, they did such a better
never
job.
cleaner, was it?
Never
Yeah,
cleaner,
no.
never more polished in my life
Yep.
did I see
Yep.
that. And once you accumulate up to that 100 hours, then whoever is the department that overseeing you certifies to those hours, gives it to our office. You fill out a little bit of paperwork, and again, you get the $1,425 off your
Yeah.
tax. That's huge.
It's a lot. That's a lot. That's a significant help. And I'd say we use the Senior Center and Elder Services. We manage the programs.
Right.
Leah Morris is our activities coordinator, and she manages the program
Yeah.
within our department. We couldn't function, without those senior tax work-off people that are in our building that help with program support, facilitating program, working at our front desk. We have them drive the van. We use them everywhere.
Yeah,
And it just gives that extra enhancement to what we do.
Yeah, it's a great asset to the town. It
Yeah.
really is. And it's important to note there's a lottery every year. So,
Yeah.
because we do have to limit it to 60 people per year. And up to $1,425, I think, because we keep it at 100 hours. But you work that. It's a great asset to the town. It's a good way to get involved in community. It's a good way to see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff at Town Hall. I think last year we had a couple people manning the door at Town Hall, and we reopened due to the COVID
with COVID,
pandemic,
yes,
right?
yeah,
We had a
yeah.
couple of seniors just, as like an information desk. This is the office you need to go see. It's right down this hallway. It's over here. They'd answer phones. They'd set up appointments for us. It was a big, big help
Yeah.
for us. So it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, it's absolutely a great program, and that's another program that you do. Some people think once they're in it, they don't need to fill out their application, but that's an annual application process,
Yep,
which will
absolutely.
be coming up soon. That is going to run through the month of May.
That's
that
right.
You can
So
apply through the month of May.
We'll accept new applications July 1, I
Yep.
think it is.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
people will start working July 1.
Yes.
The applications will start. We'll start receiving them in May.
Yep. Yep.
And so we can
Perfect.
get everybody processed, and they can start doing their hours. It runs July to June.
Right. And
putting
then
in
once you
hours.
get those hours, then it gets abated off your next January's bill.
Yep.
After everybody's finished that program, then we start over again.
And
So
yeah,
it's
we go.
great. It's fantastic. I think you and your staff does a great job.
it's a lot. I got to give Leah. That's all on Leah, because it's 60 people that she's managing
It's a lot of
in
work.
different departments, and they are all over town working.
Yeah.
We do a lot in the senior center, but also in the schools. I know the water department, DPW, departments in town hall. The clerk uses them. So
Right. So
Yeah.
let me ask you one question, if
Okay.
you don't mind, right? Because as an assessor, you always wonder, because a lot of people that come into our office, they have questions. Either it's a daughter that's trying to help their mother out, or there's even a neighbor that'll come in and is trying to help an elderly person out that's just not capable of filling these forms out. Do you have an outreach program?
yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We have an outreach manager. Kala Alstrom is our outreach manager, and she will help them do anything working out the forms. If it's something we can't help with, then we'll certainly refer them to an agency that can
Yeah.
work with them. But certainly all these town forms we would help them with.
And it's all free of charge, right?
All free of charge.
Of course.
Of
I
course.
love it. Free
Of
is
course
for
it
me.
is. Yeah. Free it is. It's my goal to make everything. We do have some programs that have fees attached, but we're working on sponsorship, and so we can reduce that cost for everyone.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah.
Hopefully we
Yeah.
can make these exemptions a little more robust going into the
Mm-hmm.
future. I know that some of these are, pretty outdated. Some of the income levels that you have to meet,
Yeah.
are pretty low. And I don't think it really reflects the time or the inflation that we're in, and what people are making for income. So
When were
hopefully
they
it
last set?
That's a really good
And
question.
who sets them? Is it the state?
Yeah, so the state is the original statute, and then you can adopt locally at town meeting other clauses, which allows you to apply a cost of living adjustment.
Okay.
They even have one where the town can up to double the exemption amount they're given. But what's hard for the town is this comes out of their pocket, right? And then
yeah.
so some of it gets reimbursed by the state to us because of these programs. But once you adopt a higher rate, you don't get that money back from the state. And so it's a little bit tough for the town to adopt that. And so it becomes, how's this going to affect the rest of the community? How many more tax dollars are we at? But again, it's worth looking into. It's been a long time since we've adjusted them, and maybe we can, give back to the seniors that are having such a tough time,
And so who do we appeal to then for that? So if it's not that, so we need to go to the state and talk to our state reps and see what we can do about it.
They exist right now. All we have to do is, as a town, adopt those options locally. So it would be just talking to Melissa, our town manager, talking to Lynn, our finance director.
Well, how can
seeing
we
if
do it though
can-
without hurting the town's revenue? And how do we get the state to say, oh yeah,
The state allows us to do it no matter what.
right,
And
but
it's
we
so-
want to get reimbursed.
Right, yeah, we want to get reimbursed, right. So that's a good question,
Yeah.
right? So we'll have to talk to our state reps
And
and
see,
say,
like, we're-
hey, if we do this, can you give us like 85% back?
Yeah, like what are we going to do?
Right.
How's this going to hurt us? But no,
Exactly.
actually something worth looking into and seeing,
Yeah, you never know.
what kind of changes. Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't know. The worst they're going to say is, no, sorry, we can't do it.
That's right.
Yeah, got to ask. So,
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I used to tell my kids that all the time. Worst I'm going to say is no, and I'm probably going to say no, but hey, give it a try.
That's right. That's right. Well, I think this was great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad
It's
that
been
we
great.
talked about it.
A lot of great information.
Yeah.
And we'll have to have you back and see what else we can talk about.
Okay, that
coming
sounds
up.
good.
All right, great. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Be sure to look for our next program. We will be joined by Quintera Costa, and we're going to discuss how you're going to pay for long-term care. This has been brought to you by North Andover Elder Services, connecting our community through service, experience, and advocacy.